Welcome to the Sundown Show. On this show, we bring you the movers and shakers of South Sudan and the world over. We engage in debates and discussions that unearth the stories behind the news. And we have our light moments too by chit-chatting about issues that affect our day-to-day life. We stay right here on the Sundown. Join in and be part of the show on iRadio, Your Eye on South Sudan. The Sundown. For the news, views, opinion, debates and discussions. Listen to who is who talking about issues that affect our country and continent. Only on the Sundown, Your Eye on South Sudan.
Hello and welcome to the Sundown Show on iRadio with me, Madrama James. Today, we start the show by focusing on a topic that is really at the heart of every family and every society. That's juvenile justice, children's rights and parental duties. Children are not just the leaders of tomorrow, they are right holders of today. But how do we understand these rights under South Sudanese law? And what happens when a child comes into conflict with the law? In this hour, we will hear from that legal expert and actors working to ensure that children are treated fairly, protected and given the chance to rebuild their life. Joining me live in the studio, panelists one, we have Mr. Gima Robert, who is the Executive Director, Road to Economic Development Organization. Then Mrs. Judith Gany, Executive Director for South Sudan. Welcome all to the studio of iRadio.
Thank you, iRadio, and all the listeners. It's a pleasure to be back here to raise awareness and talk to our people.
All right.
Thank you.
To first start with, Mr. Robert, kindly tell us more about that rule of law forum for Central Equatoria State.
Yeah, thank you very much, our dear listeners. We members of Rule of Law Forum for Central Equatoria State, I want to put this very clear to recognize, first of all, other members of this Rule of Law Forum who are working together to achieve our mission, vision and objectives. So with us in the Rule of Law Forum, we have the Judiciary of South Sudan, UNDP is a member, UNMISS is a member, we have South Sudan Prison Services, we have CSOs, like my colleague is from CSO and I too. We have the State Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare. We have the Ministry of Local Government, Juba National Prison, the South Sudan Bar Association, University of Juba, and the Public Prosecution, Department of Public Prosecution. These are all members of what constitute the Rule of Law Forum for Central Equatoria. And our main issue, our main mission is promoting access to justice and strengthening legal framework in South Sudan. So as a team, as a group, we are envisioning a South Sudan which is governed by law, where rights are protected and justice is accessible to all. So our main objective is to coordinate justice act with coordinate all justice actors across South Sudan, and monitoring legal process and advocating for better policies or reforms in the country. So this is who we are and what we are doing for the past that I have mentioned. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we continue with the show, dear listener, ideally I'm supposed to expect that also Advocate Viola Luca from South Sudan Bar Association, like Mr. Robert mentioned, this is one of the key stakeholders within the forum. But before that, now again to you, Mr. Robert, let's talk about that the juvenile justice and children's right. What is really justice, juvenile justice, and why it's also important in South Sudan?
Yes, that's a very important question, which I want our public to get it right from the beginning. You know, when we talk about juvenile justice, we're not meaning one thing. We are meaning the laws in the country. We are talking about the policies and all institutions that all together at different times handle cases which has to do with any person who is below the age of 18, who has come in conflict. In the legal language, we say coming in conflict with the law, who has done a crime or who has gone the wrong way of the law. So any person below that age. So all these policies, institutions, people, processes, that is what we refer to as a juvenile. Juvenile is a young person, juvenile justice. So it looks at a young offender, somebody below the age of 18 committing a crime. So it looks at that, and it focuses on rehabilitation. Of course, as a child, our Child Act 2008 specifies and is very clear on prioritizing rehabilitation of the child, not punishment, because the child does not, we believe, legally does not have a criminal mind to commit a crime. Any decision taken by any person who is below the age of 18, that decision before the law is null and void. So when such a person commits a crime, so we have to try to rehabilitate the person, to not punish but to guide and reform the child. So that is all what we combine and talk about when we mean juvenile justice. Yes.
And before I invite Mrs. Judith to talk about the legal protection, in your experience, what are some of the common cases our children here in South Sudan has really come in conflict with the law? And Judith, of course, will talk about some of the legal protection provided in such a situation. Welcome.
Yes. As a Rule of Law Forum, we have activities across the country. And for my CSO, basically, we are based at Juba National Prison, where we interact with minors who are incarcerated there, either put for protection, either put for rehabilitation, or for stubbornness. So to answer your question, the common crimes that we find our children involving in are minor civil cases. These are theft, of course, pickpocketing, that's snatching and running, those who have become stubborn and are taking different herbs, silition, for example, disobedience to parents, sometimes they are not, and yes, basically this petty theft and the fight also. Fights, you find these issues of nigger, Torontos is very common, and most of these boys you find are there.
All right.
So those are the common ones which we attest to on daily basis.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Now over to you, Mrs. Judith. What really legal protection at the moment exists for that minors in South Sudan? Welcome. And dear listener, I'm also glad to tell you that Advocate Viola Luka has just joined us, and in this particular discussion we are going, of course, to balance it in both Arabic and English at the same time. So welcome. Ana birahi bita fi dakili studio vitena Advocate Viola Luka.
You're welcome.
Now, what legal protection exists for minors and how well they are being enforced? طبعا نقدر ممكن نشارك بعربي بالذات للمستمعين القاعد بيتابعوا برنامج بركمان.
اوكي، شكرا سيد جيمس. طبعا احنا بنتكلم عن juvenile justice. بنلقى انه juvenile justice ده ما شيء جديد. غالبا احنا بنلقاه المحكمة بتاعت الأحداث اللي بيكونوا أعمارهم بين 12 ل 17 سنة، في حال لما يكون يتعرضوا لمساءلة قانونية أو لمسألة قانونية في بينال كود. فإحنا بنلقى الطريقة بتاعت التعامل معهم بكون بطريقة معينة. القوانين اللي احنا بنجب يطبقوا عليه بنلقى penal code, criminal procedure act، بنلقى child act، لأنه هم موجودين 12 ل 17 سنة. القانون اللي بيكون بيطبق عليهم بيكون ده قانون بتاع child act 2008 لساوث السودان. احنا بنلقى انه في الحالة ده في إجراءات معينة عشان كيف احنا نقدر نتعامل مع الحدث، خصوصا لما هو يكون مرتكب جريمة.
نعم.
ما بنتعامل معه زي زول أدلتس، بكون في بروسيس، حتى طريقة بتاع التحري حقه بكون في ضباط مختصين انه يتحروا معه، يراعوا ذاته العامل النفسي بالنسبة له، الوضع الاجتماعي حقه اللي خلاه يؤدي انه يحصل جريمة. حاجات ده كل احنا بنراعيه، وطريقة حتى الحبس بتاعه بكون في طريقة بطرق معينة، انه الحبس حقه ما بكون كبانشمنت، غالبا بكون لايك إصلاحية reformatory school. فبنلقى الحدث انه بنلقى في child act العقوبة بتاعت حدث غالبا بكون ما بين 2 ل5 سنين. ده في child act انه بيتحكم على حسب القوانين، ده ما بيتحكم ببينال كود، لانه بينال كود هناك ده قانون عام بيحكم whole the citizen، اي زول بغض النظر عن اعمار بتاعه. لكن لما نيجي في حاله بتاع الطفل اوتوماتيك احنا بنعاقبه على قانون الطفل، لانه هو لسه ما بنتعامل معه كزول كبير، يمكن في ظروف خلته انه هو يرتكب جريمه، عشان كده احنا بنتعامل معه في حدود بتاعت الفئه العمريه القانون كفلوا له، بنديه من 2 ل5 سنة ايا كان جريمه اللي هو عمله.
نعم. وكمان في جنوبي والمواطن ده راسل لو تمشي مثلا في جوبا بريزون بيلقى في اطفال للمنكوتار وقانون ديل ولا اكتال تقعد بناقش فيه لو في قاعد بنفسه لو قاعد بنفسه معلو لسه عدد بتاع الكوتار لسه في السجن.
اوكي، العيال الكتار هم في السجن لانه لسه ما ودوهم محاكمه. احنا عندنا GBV كود او جوفنايل كود، ده اللي بيحكم بكيسز بتاعهم. هم في سجن ما عشان انه خلاص حكمهم، لكن هم في سجن اند بروسيس. اصلا المفروض ما يكونوا في سجن، لكن لانه سيتويشن بتاعت وضع بتاعتنا المفروض هم يكونوا في حاجه اسمه ريفورماتوري سكول. ده لايك اصلاحيه بيكونوا قاعدين فوقه بيدرسوهم ايا كان اكاديمي نجاره حداده، بيسجلوا بيدرسوهم هناك لحد ما يحكموا، لحد ما يودوهم محكمه اجراءات بتاعت بروسيس حقهم. لكن هم في السجن ده بالنسبه لهم سيف ذاته، لان يمكن هم بكون في جرائم كبيره جابهم ويمكن 206 يمكن 247 ده من الكيسز الما فوق ضمانه، لكن عشان انه هم مجرمين ودوهم في اصلاحيه عشان يحفظوهم هم ذاتهم، عشان ما يكونوا برا، عشان اولا شيء ما يرتكب نفس الجريمه مره ثانيه، وحاجه ثانيه عشان اسره بتاعت الفيكتيم اللي هو عمل له حاجه ما يعملوا له، يمكن يمشي يقتلوه او يدقوه، ده السيف له ذاته. عشان كده انه هو بيكون قاعد في محل محفوظ لحد ما يودوه في محكمه يحكم يا زول ده guilty or not guilty.
Okay, thank you. I know, Robert, you would really want to add on, but before that, let me invite Judith. What's your take on this particular discussion? Then, Robert, you will come in later. Welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator, for having me here. And, of course, in the beginning, you introduced me, but I think I would have to make it still clear. I work for Vision for Humanity South Sudan as an executive director. And, of course, this is a very interesting topic, because right now when you move through the streets of South Sudan or Juba itself, you see a lot of children on the streets. So these are concerns that really needs to be addressed as actors that are standing in this gap. And we really appreciate the role that rule of law has given, or the opportunity that they have given for us to come and talk about this through the radio. And when you look at this, we say that there are really a number of roles that maybe our communities or our parents and guardians would have undertaken to protect these children from being exploited or from getting involved in some of these activities. One of them, I would say, is provision of the basic needs like shelter, education, health and emotional support. Some of these children do not just go on the street because they want to go on the street. but they lack the basic needs that they need, and so they are forced into parenting at a younger age. So what do? They are not educated. They end up on the street being thugs. So as a parent, we're supposed to try as much as we can to provide those basic needs for these kids, and also taking an active role in modeling their positive behaviors and disciplines. Some parents, there is no more say that this child has now gone beyond my capacity. This child doesn't listen to us. But they say, the Bible also says, spare the rod and spoil the child. If you don't start guiding this child from an earlier age where the discipline is apprehended, then it becomes very difficult to control this child at a given age. Another thing is also monitoring the social behavior of these children. Some of these children are fixed into the community because of the peer influence. When you look at the Torontos that we have in our communities, these are decent children that get attracted because the juvenile age is an age of adolescent, and they get moved by anything that gives them happiness. So when they see a peer group that is doing something, they can easily get convinced. So as a parent, if you do not guide these children or understand the social environment that they engage in, it creates that room for children to become criminals in the community. And also some of cases where you find maybe there are theft issues, the child is involved in stealing, and then the parents or the communities keep quiet. They don't report this kind of bad act. Or maybe a child is raped and then nobody talks about it.
Where are they supposed to report?
Of course, the channels of reporting, which as we are discussing, it will come out clear for the public to understand where they can report when these cases come up. So what we're advocating for here is that once you see a child doing something wrong, do not keep quiet. Correct this child so that they can pick up the better behavior than adopting a very bad behavior. And we have a number of children being kept in prison. My sister Viola just said that we have a number of children that are in prison, but we do not have enough reformatory center to take care of these children. So why can't we avoid these things as parents and guardians by taking proper care of these children?
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's your turn now, Mr. Robert.
La كان نعمل إضافة بس بسيط لكل كلمات الأستاذة كلمة. طبعا في دي اللغة بتاع قانون when she was mentioning 206 طبعا دي جريمة قتل البابليك ما بعرف 206 ده هي قاعد يتكلم شنو يعني كان داير نوادي شوية للناس جريمة قتل دي 206 ده مادة 206 في قانون يلا 247 دي ريب دي اغتصاب دي ريب so أجد جريمة بالشكل ده توالي we have and the process we have the GBV and juvenile court alo muhim kalis nas yarif dema gina di mahakama bita nuswan dema ta nuswan barau deta nuswan rujal uyal so ay algi lemes algi habis jena saker au mara tuwali wadi cases de fi GBV and the juvenile court they haja besit kan der nezidu le best form ta public shukran.
And let's also talk about ways of that reporting. Taban fi jiraim kutar gibelta ze aki dor bita mujtama, dor bita civil society wa kaman hukuma ikun shunu walo fi mushkila jua hila hal mon kaman bagdarar fasokwa deke via Ustaza Viola.
Okay, shukran. أي جريمة إذا حصل لازم إنه في process عشان إنه أنت تفتح كيس عشان تفتح criminal case ما ساكت إنه الزول البلاغ ده أو الجريمة ده حصل تحت دائرة بتاعه أو تحت إدارة بتاعه ده ممكن يكون شيخ هلا مثلا ممكن يكون الفاميلي ذاته بتاعت الواحد من الأطراف أو victim أو زول المتهم أو أي زول أو ممكن بوليس ممكن يعمل ريبورت تعمل ريبورت تمشي تفتح بلاغ لأقرب بوليس سنتر في اريا حقك وده طبعا بقول مكافحة الجريمة واجب على الكافة إنه لو في جريمة حصل أي زول عنده حق إنه هو يمشي يبلغ ما ضروري لايك أسرة بتاعت الزول الحاصل لو يمكن زول الحاصل الكلام ده في ظل الكلام ده حاصل إنه بيكون متوتر أو ما قادر يتصرف ممكن أقرب زول بمشي بفتح بلاغ ده هنا هو بيكون مثلا الشاكي تمشي تفتح بلاغ ده تودي ريبورت في القسم انه في حاجه كده حصل حتى بيجا بجو اولا شيء في حاجه اسمه 56 ده اجراءات عشان انهم يقدروا يعملوا انفستيجيت يعرفوا في شنو حصل كيف كله ده. بعد ما يحصل حتى بقوم بفتحوا كيس لما يتاكدوا انه المعلومات اللي انت جبته ده حقيقه حصل، بقوم بفتحوا كيس. لما يفتحوا كيس بكون في كومبلينا ده هو زول الجاب الله، يمكن يكون من اسره، يمكن يكون شيخيلا، يمكن يكون بوليس، يمكن يكون اي زول، لانه ده جريمه حصل في المنطقه حقك او انت شفته في عينك. تفتح البلاغ بقوم بعمله تحري، الشرطه بيعمل في حاجه اسمه تحري اولي. لما يعمل تحري اولي لازم كان ده جريمه قتل زي 206 يكون في جثمان، لما يلقوا جثمان يعرفوا ده جثه منو، لما يتعرفوا على الجثه حتى بيجوا بيعرفوا منو اللي عمل الكلام ده. لما يعرفوا مين اللي عمل الكلام ده حتى بيجي بظهر سواء كان زول ده عند age او ادل. اذا هو زول صغير يمكن من 12 ل 17 سنه هنا حيكون شنو ده جفنايل، انه هو عشان صغير فسو في اجراءات طوالي نبدا نعمل فوقه بروسيس. اذا بقى زول كبير طبعا برضه معروف اجراءات بتاعت زول كبير، لكن عشان احنا في حاله ده بنتكلم عن الاحداث. اذا لقينا مثلا المجرم ده عمره 17 سنه او 16 سنه طوالي ما نتعامل معه كمجرم. ممكن هو كمجرم لكن في نفس الزمن ما ننسى انه هو طفل، فسو حتى لو دارين ناخد تحري بتاعه لازم يكون في زول كبير قاعد، يكون في ابوه، في اب، في عمه، في خاله، يكون قاعد عشان ذاته هو بيكون يمكن خايف، لكن يكون في زول جنبه انه هو يحس انه شنو شويه كول عشان يقدر يتكلم عن الحاصل شنو. والبوليس ذاته اللي بياخد اقوال حقه يكون عنده خبره في التحري بتاعت كيسز ده. عشان كده في اي قسم بتاع بوليس يعني احنا بنلقى فيه مكتب اسمه جندا اوفيس، ده هو بيكون مختص بكل كيسز بتاع الجندا سواء كان طفل او مره، انه هو بقى عند ايج طوالي بيكون في البودو لاوفيس ده، لانهم هم بيكونوا متدربين تدريب خاص عشان كيف يقدروا يتعاملوا مع الطفل ده. لما ياخدوا اجراءات حقته ياخدوا ريبورت حتى بعد كده بيقوم بينسقوا له طلع كجريمه بشروط حقته المعروف، في قتل، في جريمه قتل حصل معناته لازم يكون في قاتل وفي مقتول. اذا في شهود او ما في شهود لازم يكون في اداه اللي استخدموه في الجريمه ده، سكين، عصايه، سلاح، شنو ده معروضه. لازم حاجات ده كله يلموه حتى تقوم يرفعوا ريبورت ده تقوم توديه في GBV كود. ده بعد ما تكمل الاجراءات بتاع التحري في البوليس الحصل فيه او في اريا الحصل فوق والكلام ده. طبعا اي اريا عنده قسم بتاع بوليس القريب له.
All right. Shukran jazilan, dear listener. If in case you have just joined us, you're listening to the Sundown Show on Radio with me, Madrama James, and we are taking a look at that juvenile justice right here. And thank you for those who have taken their humble time to ask us some of those good questions via our Facebook page. And shortly, I will go through them and give it to, of course, my potential guests in the studio right here. Before that, I would like now to invite on board Mr. Robert. How can now parents and guidance, protect their children from coming into that conflict with the law?
Yes, my sister hinted on that in her presentation just before. The basics is you as a parent to provide the basic necessity for your child. A child sorry, a child is في كلام بيقولوا في روتانتا قال a child is like a dog. If you want to keep your dog, you keep bones at home. If you don't keep the bones that is liked by the dog, it will go and look for the bones. Even if you are sakata jeran obura fetis winak. So jena loma ligo the basics necessity for life, that is shelter, akil, madrasa, ilaj. These basic necessities, it's up to us, the parents, to make sure we provide for them, because we just, God gave them to us, so it is our responsibility to take care of them. So mostly we talk to the parents to be responsible parents, to be role models for their children, to monitor the surroundings of their children. For example, the peer, which group is your child moving with? If your child is in school, have you taken one day to go and verify, see your child in school? How is the behavior of your child in school among others? if your child is having access to phones, for example, do you take your time to try to know what kind of apps, movies, what is the child doing on phone? So mostly we are taken by our duties, musulia, then we pay less attention to our children, and this causes the main problem for our kids to get spoiled. These things are two. There is education and there is instruction. Let's get to very well. At school, we send our children to get education, but it is us to educate them at home. So to me, it is basically how we play our roles as parents, and that's what I can say for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Judith, one of the concern is parents are saying, for example, the civil servants, they are not paid, and you have that hard really to help your family look better and thrive in life. But at the end, there are certain situations that will really put you down. Now, in such a situation, as the Executive Director for Vision for Humanity, what is it really in place? What is available for such kind of vulnerable parents and family members?
Thank you, moderator, for asking that question. We are encountering some of these questions as well. For instance, if you go to a parent that is having a child that is actively involved in child labor, the child is not in school but is on the road selling maybe, let's say, granates or tisali, these things that children are selling. And then you ask, yes, why is this child not in school? And then the response is, how do I support this child in school when I do not have the capacity? But it still goes back to the parent. The same work that you think this child can do to generate income, why can't you stand in to do that work yourself, generate the income and send the child to school, or encourage the child to be in good environment? So we are still cautioning parents. It is the negligence of our parents. There is nothing much the government can do financially to go and support every family that has the child on the street and all that. But what we can do is take active role in making sure that your child is well brought up, your child doesn't lack the necessities they need. We know the economy is hard right now. People are battling life here and there. But with the little that you have, can you protect the security of that child? Is the biggest concern that we need to preach to parents. Thank you.
And now again, what support is available more especially for children who are also exploited in some of these other places or restaurants or other institutions as well? If you can briefly throw light, and I know Advocate Viola will also come on board. Welcome.
I think I will allow Advocate Viola from the legal perception to respond that, so that she will explain it in Arabic and the listeners will pick it very well.
Marhaba. Yeah, to Musada Alta Bielga قاعد بيقدموا له جزء من أطفال تانيين في السجن وكمان في مع الشغل بارو تبيلقى قاعد بيمشي في مرحلة الخطورة كمان. مرحبا.
اوكي احنا كساوث سودان با اسوسيشن بنقدم مساعدة للأطفال وانس البقى خلاص ارتكب جريمة. لكن مثلا جينا كان لسه مع امه ومع ابوه ما ارتكب جريمه، احنا ما بنقدر نعمل له حاجه، لانه هنا بكون في مسؤوليه بتاعت فاميلي، في سكولز. احنا دور حقنا بيجي وانس لو جينا ده ارتكب جريمه، اللي احنا هنقدر نوفر له في حاله انه هو ارتكب جريمه، بنحاول نعمل له لايك ليجل ايد سيرفيس، انه بنحاول انه نشوف الاسباب اللي خلته انه هو يرتكب جريمه. لكن هو طبعا طفل ميبي بيكون ظروفه الأسرية زي ما جوديس منشن انه في أطفال ممكن أسرة ما قدروا يوفروا عشان انهم هو يدخلون مدرسة، بيكون قاعد يا إما شغال عشان يقدر يصرف على نفسه، في تانيين عشان يقدر يصرف على أسرهم، في تانيين طفل لو ما في مدرسة بيكون عنده طاقة هو ما بيعرف يوديه وين. ده بيخلي انه غالبا العيال بقى لجأوا الطاقة اللي فيه ده انه هو بحاول يفضوه في اجرام زي شباب بتاعت نيكاس، او بكون لافي في شارع، بكون عنده باور تخيان، اقل حاجة بيعمل مشكلة بيشاكل. فسو ده بخلي لانه في فراغ، في زمن فاضي هو ما قادر يملاه، لانه ما قاعد يمشي مدرسه زي الدفعات حقه، بيشوف دفعات حقه كل صباح مشوا مدرسه وهو قاعد في بيت ما في حاجه هو بعمله. اهله ذاته بيكونوا مثلا ماشيين شغل وشنو، هو يا بيكون قاعد ما عنده حاجه يعمل، يعمل شنو اللي يطلع الشارع. يطلع الشارع يمشي يحتك مع الناس اللي هناك في الشارع مع مجرمين، بشي يعمل مشكله يخش وين في سجن. هنا بنلقى كثير من عيال اللي في السجن الاصلاحيه كثير بقول لك انه مثلا انا ما عندي اهل. ما في زول ما عنده اهل، ميبي بس بكون يمكن عشان زمن لانه هم يجروا ورا عيالهم، او بكون جنا ده ما قاعد يسمع كلام، بكون خلاص هم ملوا منه خليه يقعد هناك. في هنا انه ده ما حل. جنا لو عمل خطا لازم انت توريه انه ده خطا، انت لما تخليه كده هو جنا وما بعرف انه لو عمله ده غلط. ده هو هنا بيجي الدور بتاعك كاسره. في تشايلد اكت، في حقوق بتاعت الاسره، في حقوق بتاعت والدين، في حاجه اسمه the best interest to the child. ده افضل مصلحه للاسره، المفروض انه للطفل المفروض انه الاسره يوفروا له. الحاجه الافضل له انه هو يقرا، الحاجه الافضل له صحيا لو بقى عيان يتعالج، الحاجه الافضل له انه يكون قاعد في جو عائلي بين ابوه وامه، الحل الافضل له انه هو يلعب زي دفاعاته. ده كله الطاقه جواه بيطلع، لكن وانس ما في مدرسه لو هو عيان انت ما قاعد تهتم به، طبيعي انه الطاقه اللي هو في ده هيمشي يفرغه في جريمه. احنا دورنا هنا جنا لو عمل جريمه احنا بنجي نحاول ندافع عنه في الحاله ده، نقدم له ليجال سبورت انه ده جنا صغير هو يمكن لسه ما بيعرف انه ده جريمه، او يمكن في حاجه حصلت له فجاه خلته انه هو يرتكب جريمه وما بكون قاصد، لكن عشان المرحله العمريه اللي هو فوقه والفراغ اللي هو فوقه يا هو خلته يرتكب جريمه. احنا بنحاول نقدم له المساعده القانونيه عشان كيف نطلعه من الجريمه ده. ما معناته بنطلعه كليا انه يكون، لكن بنحاول نشوف له الظروف اللي خلته يعمل الجريمه ده. في حاجه في المحكمه اسمه الظروف المخففه، انه جنا ده طفل وما في زول قاعد يراعيه وده كله بخففوا له. لما هو يقعد في اصلاحيه ده ما معناته انه هو كاب، عشان يغير الفكره بتاعته. ممكن بكره يطلع من هناك يجي واصل القرايه حقته، بكره يكون انسان صالح للمجتمع. ده السبب انه بخلوا انه عملوا قانون الطفل انه يدوه حكم في خلال 5 سنة. لو هو مثلا خش 17 سنة 5 سنة ممكن يطلع كم 20 سنة. لسه هو في عز شبابه بيقدر يعمل حاجة لبكرة. لو هناك في ريفورماتوري سكول لقى قدر يقرا او قدر يشتغل نجار او حداده، بكره لما يطلع هو بيلقى شغل. شاء لو هو ما يقدر يقرا لكن بيكون عنده شغل يده لو بيقدر يشتغل. ده كده احنا بنكون مجرم واحد بقيناه بقى صالح، بدل يمشي يسرق وعنده شغل في يده بيشتغل بيقدم شغل للمجتمع.
شكرا جزيلا. Now via our Facebook page we have a concern raised by David Benjamin. He's saying thanks to the guests in the studio and it's a very important discussion. Now he would want us here to throw more lights on the differences between child rights and a responsibility, because these two to him it's really misunderstood. The Robert or Judith one can take over between a child right and at the same time responsibility of children, because these are two different items. If you can break it down. Welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, moderator, and for our listeners that are asking this question. One, when we talk about child rights, these are things that our children are entitled to. For instance, the right to education, the right to basic needs, the right to shelter, the right to good health. These are children's rights. But now where do we find, how do we cross the bar between a right and then what's the other question?
A responsibility.
Yeah, a responsibility. Now the responsibility comes to the parent. The child is entitled to that, but as a guardian and as a parent who gave birth to these children, what are you doing to make sure that these rights are protected? If a parent is not taking their responsibility, as a parent you have a child and you're not sending this child to school, you're failing in your responsibility, and by failing in your responsibility you are killing the right of the child to education. If you're not providing food for this child and this child ends up to be a Toronto on the street, you're failing in your responsibility as a parent and killing the right of the child to good food or good shelter or good health. So this is where the two lines can be drawn. Responsibility is on the side of the guardian. The rights are the legal provisions or anything that a child is born with. Like you give birth to a child, automatically they have this right to live, and it is also enshrined in the Child Act. Yes, thank you.
All right. Now, Nyual from Jebel Suk, Nyual Deng from Jebel Suk, that what can parents or guardian do if their children really self-guided, but at the end of the day, because of peer influence, janabes kulu haja fi bed, fi makulado, fi udum, lekinta bielga, a child would decide to abandon what you are providing, the services at home, the basic services at home, but decided, to take a total life somewhere else. In such a situation, what can really a parent or guidance do? Would like to invite in Robert.
Yes, that's a tough one. There's no smoke without fire. A child is a child, but this is a fully human being with reasoning capacity, with all the senses. If such situation happens or occurs, I just want to put these two suggestions. First, we have to check in ourselves as a parent. Ma mumkin jana besi yatla indu koloshi indu kola jazeguta yemshibara uhamlaja. There is what my sister mentioned here that has not come out clear here. There is an emotional effect of our behaviors on our children. Tebifekir de galam the material things that the child is having all, but the heart, that child might have a heart inside. Fi aja waja shadid, fi aja magura sa fi hayato. Mumkin minita. For example, when we talk about GBV, there are so many forms of this gender-based violence. One can be emotional torture. Kulma zaman tagi torture jana taki. Anything minor that the child does, mumkin ta dugu, mumkin ta shitimu, mumkin ta lemesu, hu bebga kavera aja. He is not feeling his dignity. The basic human right of that child is not being provided. So let's separate this from outside thing, from the material thing. I want to bring the attention to you have to check in yourself, find out what is the cause of this. And mostly we will find it is emotional torture that the child has been undergoing, which he or she can no longer bear, and now decides to go out from your family despite all what you're doing to the physical body. So let's check on the emotional well-being of our children. Not only our children, even Mara Bitakwala, Zola Kalgaid Mark, check on their emotional being. That is what I can say. And also the environment. Maybe the result that mumkin a gairu environment yukun naja seme.
Shukran jazilan. Na minda kaswale Judith Robert wale Staza Viola fi 09 wide wale 299 tuwali bodik fursa shan kefta basa luswal wale talik bitaka. My lines officially open on 0911 or 22986 The first caller, Hi Radio.
Good evening.
Good evening, Majong Sudan.
Yes, thank you. My regards to the guests in the studio. I have a question to Biola, Advocate Biola, about the delinquent crime, the delinquent offense of the children. In case a child of 12 years or 14 kill another person, and then what could be the punishment of that child? Because for them to be remanded in the prison is for correctional formation. When they have killed someone, what is the punishment of that child? If the child killed an adult, and the child is 10 or 12 or 14 years. That is question one. And my second question is about the children without parents or without guidance. So what is really, who can take the responsibility of delinquent offenses of such children when they are lacking parental, no parents, no guidance that are around? Thank you.
Thank you. Majong Sudan fi Juba in bugol misal jana bukono morit nashar qatul zola al-kabir zede ganun bugol shino. Marhaba Viola.
اوكي، شكرا للسؤال بتاعه. زي ما احنا قلنا قبالك انه كون انه هو قتل زول ده هنا بينال كود، هو ارتكب جريمة في بينال كود، جريمة مادة 206 اللي هو ماتا كيس، قتل زول. ده هنا في جانب. في جانب الثاني انه احنا بنلقى انه هو طفل، انه عمره 12 سنة. في قاعدة قانونية بقول لك الخاص بغاية العام. بنلقى بينال كود قانون عام وتشايلد اكت قانون خاص. في حالة ده كان جاء الجاج هو بيقوم بيشوف القانون البسري هنا تشايلد اكت. ليه؟ لأنه المتهم هو صغير. تشايلد اكت في حالة ده بيقول شنو؟ أجينا المجرم في حالة إنه هو لو قتل زول عنده عقوبة ما بين سنتين كماكسيموم، من 2 ل5. لو حكمه بسيط بحكمه 2، كان حكمه كتير بحكمه 5 سنة. في الحالة ده القاضي بينظر بالحتة ده إنه نعم أنت ارتكبت جريمة، لكن ما بننسى إنه أنت طفل، أنت كده هتكون مذنب بجريمة 206. إحنا هنحكمك مثلا 5 سنة. 5 سنة ده أقصى حد، ده عقوبة بتاعت الحكومة. الحاجة التانية بيكون مثلا فيها دية يا غرامة لحكومة. الدية غالبا بيكون على حسب، لو الأسرة بتاعت المرحوم هم قالوا إحنا دايرين دية، في حالة ده ممكن بيشوفوا الدية حقت المنطقة بتاعت جماعة الكم القبيلة اللي إنه هو قتل منهم. في حالة ده إحنا بنرجع للكالتشر، إنه في حالات بتاعت الديات والأعراس والمهر بيكون على حسب العرف. إنه مثلا في منطقة ده مثلا إنت دينكا أو شنو أو شنو، في حالة ده الزول لو قتل زول بدفعوا كم بقر. لو ناس قالوا ان احنا دايرين دي بقوم بدفعوا لهم شنو الكميه بتاعت البقره الدايرينه، بدو لهم ده كده دي. الحكومه هنا بيحبس الجنة 5 سنة 2 3 حسب السلطات التقديريه. برجع لقاضي يمكن يحكم 2 لو هو شاف انه الجنة ده مثلا عمره 12 سنة وده اول جريمه هو عمله، ويمكن زول ده مثلا يا هو عمل له حاجه استفزه او عمل حاجه قام انه هو قتله. كل الحاجات ده القاضي بيراعي الحته ده، بقوم بديه مثلا من 2 ل5 حسب، وده يديه 2 ده يديه 3 ده يديه 5، وبكون في شنو في دي انه هو بدفعه. ما جنا ده يا بدفعه، لكن اسره حقته كان في ابوه في امه في اهله هم يا بدفعوا الديه.
ونفسه في دفع دية بيلقى مجون السودان بكلم مثال جنا ده ما عنده ابوه ما عنده بعمل شنو.
اوكي. برضه احنا بنلقى قانون ما خلى شيء بيقول لك الحكومه او الدوله ولي من لا ولي له. يعني جنا ده مثلا اذا يتيم ما عنده اب وما عنده ام، احنا عندنا وزاره بتاعت جندر اند سوشيال ويلفير، وزاره ده تابع للحكومه. مسؤوليه حقته انه هو يشوف الناس اللي ما عندهم زي الاطفال بتاعت الشوارع مثلا جنا امه مات ابوه مات، ده بيكون في مسؤوليه بتاعت حكومه. في حاله زي ده لو جنا ده ارتكب جريمه، في حاله ده ممكن حكومه، لو ما في زول ظهر ممكن حكومه بدفع نيابه عنه الديه.
نعم شكرا. اي راديو اي راديو. نعم فرصة لسه في 0911 اي راديو.
الو.
ايوه
الو.
نعم مرحب.
اي مرحب، مساء الخير.
مساء النور.
انا بس في موضوع قبل الجريمه بتاعنا ده يعمل اهل مسؤول وما مسؤول. في حاجه شويه كده نسيته. children بتاع زمان بتاع 70s 60s 50s لورا there is a difference between this generation that today. Now there was a سائل على الجليه بيجوروا بنزين ده في السكة ده، فجأة كده عربية دوغو ولد ده جنة ده ميت والي. You see about 4 or 5 V8 جا وقف ده جنة بتاعنا. See ده جنة بتاعك لما يكون ميت. And where were you when he is alive? Inside V8 more than 2-3 they were with that kid, but he was not assisted. لما مات because أجودية وبتاعه بيظهر كثير جا تحصل في سوق بتاع كونيا ده. طيب أنا نخش في الموضوع بتاع عارض ده. شوف there are 3 things: bed, وشارع ومدرسة. جينا ده بيقوم من بيت بدايركتس بتاع البيت بتاع الوقت مدرسة عمل ده عمل ده. في سكة there is a school where you find those. في المدرسة زي كمان زي يعني في البيت أمه بقال لا أعمل كده أبوه بيعمل كده. يا تو يا بدخل بسرعة راسه جينا على الشارع ده. كلام بتاع موسى كلام بتاع ده. It's interesting of this because all the environment is this technology الجديد موبايل هو بتاع كان بالدنيا أنا الموبايل أبوه ما عنده.
نعم.
Coming to this situation exactly علمنا فيه هو ده. A hungry man is a angry man. جانا صغير. هو جان is paralytic and he is psychiatric case that he can do everything.
نعم. أستاذ كمال وسط زمن سؤال بتاعك بكون شنو بكون لديف بتاع في داخل الاستوديو؟
والله it is very difficult. ما نفسي parents يقدروا تجينا نجيك أنا ما أبي.
نعم. شكرا. شكرا. نعم ده أستاذ كمال هنا في خطر بكون في أمينكم لو في إجابة بين روبرت ولا جوديس مرحبا.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, Stas, for mentioning that point. Sometimes parents really try as much as they can to mentor these children, but there are a lot of influence. I did say that the juvenile age is an adolescent age that can be influenced by anything, in school, on the road, and to make it worse these days, my sister Viola said it, you find almost every child has a smartphone. Whatever they see in this smartphone also affects their kind of life. And this comes up to the story of the dead child that has families that came with V8 and all that. These days, the kind of way we show love to our children is different. You pamper the child, you bring different things and thinking this is a way of loving the child. But these gadgets you buy to these children and give these children is the one exposing them to all these other acts. You may be responsible, but the way you show love to this child is what spoils them. Yeah. And what I would say is, once you begin to notice such kind of behavior, look for one family member that the child fears. In every home, there is at least a family member that once they come at home, children fear. You call this person to talk to this child. If this fails, maybe this child can even relocate to go and stay with this person in times of peer groups. This has helped a lot of situations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you indeed. في تبيلغا بواتنين ما بودي مساعدة لهذه جانا بيات لبارا من شارع من بيت لكن لو خلاص في حادث جاهل بكون سدين بفيهت بيلغا ده أو محل بواد ولا أمهات بجا زاير قال أنا فلان أنا حال أنا أقول شنو أي راديو أي راديو.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
We are connected to William Nipoch from Wow.
Welcome, William.
Thank you so much. I welcome the guests in the studio. And I would love to ask only 2 questions to the guests in the studio.
One.
First of all, I'm one of the travelers. I used to travel from Wow to Juba in most cases by. And whenever I move, I may find many children on Wow Juba Road, occupying roads, like they are doing road construction. They are bringing stones from the forest, and then they are trying to, to make a road smoothly, like those places which are badly. So whenever I ask those children, they may give different complaints. Like some are telling me that they do not have the school fees. And when I ask where the schools that they're starting, you find that most children are starting in government school, whereby sometimes those are free schools, and they are being chased away. So what is the role of the government in that matter? Government schools and children are being chased away. later they end up on the street, whereby some child are moving, which is very easy for them to be lost and steal. I want to know what is the role of the family in that matter. Second to that is in most cases, advocates do not support the cases because of the right. But some of the advocates, they support cases because of the money that they are handling. So I don't know, should the court continue with that behavior, or there is a need for the capacity building to those advocates so that they really support the right, but not they don't support because of the money that they earn from individuals. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And because of time, we are left with only 4 minutes. Now let me start with Viola. Galeta bielga fi muhaminin tanin mon ma bogi fi hagaik. Lekin wasad bes gurush zol bagder yan tekil be haja al masa. Wo ganunia ni ande haja al musteg mon kan bagder amul wele raya bitak shunu yala kirisala bitaki yala badaka na bieji bardo le robata.
اوكي شكرا للسؤال منه هو صعب. بنلقى انه غالبا انه بكون في معلومات قد تمشي غلط، انه محامي بكون كله همه قروش حتى لو زول ده قتل زول انه هو بدافع له، في حين انه ما قاعد يكون من عشان انه هو داير يدافع للزول ده. لكن لو احنا جينا في كونستيتيوشن بتاع ساوث السودان بقول لك انه اي زول ايا كان جريمه عنده حق انه هو يكون عنده محامي. ايا كان جريمه اللي هو عمله، اعتقد ما في جريمه اكبر من انه زول يقتل زول. زول ذاته لو قتل زول، اول سؤال لما يجيبوك لقاضي قاضي بيقول لك انت عندك محامي ولا لا. لو انت ما عندك محامي قاضي بيقوم بيشوف اي جهه انه يوفر لك محامي. مثلا في مينستر اوف جاستس عنده ديبارتمنت ليجل ايد بوفر لك، في با اسوسيشن عنده ديبارتمنت ليجل ايد بوفروا لك. الريزون ما عشان انه دارين يطلعوك انه انت ما قتلته، لكن عشان في حاجات قانونيا انت ما بتعرفه. يمكن جريمه ده حصل ما عشان انه انا شلت سكينه انا مشيت قتلته مثلا روبرت، اكيد بكون في روبرت حاول اعمل حاجه خلى انه مثلا ابسط شيء، مثلا يمكن انا قاعده ادافع عن نفسي، حصل مشاكل بينه وبين روبرت، اذا انا ما قتلت روبرت يا كان حيقتلني. يعني في حاله لازم يكون في زول ميت. الحالة ده ما في زول بعرفه إلا لما يكون في محامي، عشان هو بيجي بيفتش بعرف الريزون اللي خلى الكلام ده يحصل شنو. ده الحالات اللي إنه هو بيشتغل فوقه. كان ده بيبقى في حاجات اسمه بيسموه شنو لايك موانع بتاعت مسؤولية، وفي حالات اللي إنه ممكن العقوبة فيه إنه بسقط من مثلا من بيكون 206 يمكن يجي ل 210 مثلا يكون قتل خطأ أو قتل شبه عمد. يا هو في حاجات زي ده، انه مثلا في حالات بتاعت مشاكل البحث الفجأة كده، ناس لسه قاعدين بشيء فجأة حصل مشكلة، ناس بقى قاعدين يتضاربوا جا زول شال، في حالة ده لازم يكون في زول يموت. حالة ده ممكن بغيره من 206 بيجي بغيره 210 لانه حد زي ما في زول قاصد يقتل زول، لكن ده مشكلة حصل فكلام ده حصلت. اوكي
في 20 ثانية اخر رسالة بتاعك.
اوكي اخر رسالة حقتي انه بنوجه انه الجوفنايل جاستيس ماشي سهل عشان احنا نوصل. يمكن عندنا اجمل قانون بتاع قانون الطفل، فبنتمنى انه لايك في عندنا في البرلمان في فاميلي لو برضو اب تو ناو لسه ما شاف النور، فاحنا بنتمنى انه حاجه ده يحصل. بنلقى في تشايل اكت في ماده 174 بيتكلم عن مؤتمر بتاعت اسره، فاي ثينك ما حصل يوم سمينا انه في مؤتمر بتاعت اسره عمل نفسه. المؤتمر ده لازم يكون فيه فئات، وزارة تربية، حكومة، شنو، عشان كيف نقدر نوعي الأطفال عشان يقدروا يعرفوا حقوقهم عشان نوقف من حد بتاعت الجرائم بتاعت الأحداث.
Morita from Eastern Equatoria State, when we talked of a juvenile reduction or crimes reduction, it's a collective responsibility. What are those strategies done to reduce juvenile crimes? Plus your last message in 1 minute, Judith.
Okay, thank you. I think I will just respond to that question with my last message, because that actually sums up what I want to give to the community. A juvenile is not just the responsibility of the parent. A child, let me say, is not a responsibility of the parent that gave birth to. We need a collective responsibility. If the parents are not doing their role, the community can do something. If the community is not doing something, these children are affiliated to institutions. When they go to schools, let the teachers not give up on them. Let us train children so that we will have responsible citizens. And if we have people that do collective roles in upbringing children in the right way, then we are going to reduce the issues of juvenile. Thank you.
Thank you very much for managing time. Over to you, Robert, your last message. A very important point you'd like also to put across.
Just to sympathize with the situation our callers have mentioned. In everything we do, raising our children, let's not forget God. Matansa salawat, selile agliyal bitak nasusurakulu. God is the answer. That is the first message. And the last one is, we are talking about juvenile, our children. So in all that we do, we should put sensitivity around the children. That's why they are called the kids. So anything we do, justice must be child sensitive, timely, fair, and free for all.
Thank you.
That is my last message for everyone.
Thank you, Judith, Robert, and Viola, for coming. Dear listener, up to here, we have come to the end of our discussion, focusing on that awareness on the juvenile justice, children rights, and parental duties. I've been your host, Madrama James.
Thank you.
This is iRadio.
The iRadio.
Your eye on South Sudan.
Hello, good evening. It's 5 o'clock. Time for iRadio News headlines. A look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock in the news bulletin. More than 1,000 members of the South Sudan People's Defense Forces, including 8 women, have officially begun training in preparation for potential deployment to future United Nations peacekeeping missions. An SPLM-IO member whose appointment has been revoked, alongside with some party members, has said that removal undermined the 2018 revitalized peace agreement. And a senior analyst with the International Crisis Group has described doubt the 2018 peace deal will also get back on track, citing what he terms as an electoral decisions by the government and a lack of inclusive political dialogue. Tune in for these stories and more coming up in our 7 o'clock news bulletin. And now here's my colleague, Barrier Johnson, with Arabic news headlines. I am Darlington Moses. Thanks for listening.
أهلا ومرحبا بك. ده زمن عناوين الأخبار من آي راديو، وتفاصيله حيجيك في النشر المفصل في الساعة 7:30. بدأ أكثر من 1000 فرد من قوات دفاع شعبي جنوب السودان من بينهم 80 مرة تدريبهم رسميا استعدادا لاحتمال نشرهم في بعثة حفظ السلام التابعة للأمم المتحدة. قال عضو في الحركة الشعبية في المعارضة تم إلغاء تعيينهم منذ فترة طويلة مع بعض أعضاء